Hello and welcome to another episode of Handloader TV. I'm your host Jeremiah, and in this episode we're continuing on in our series on propellant profiles, something that we do in the magazine as well as here on the videos. And in this episode we're talking all about Accurate number 2. This is a powder I have quite a bit of experience with. I've been using it for decades now, and I'm a big fan of it, especially in smaller cartridged handguns. So great powder here. It was introduced all the way back in May of 1988, so it's been around for a long time. It's had some different names. It was Accurate number 2 Improved for a while, and then it went back to Accurate number 2, dropping the improved part of the name. It's been manufactured in several countries over the years since its introduction. It started out, I believe, in Ontario, Canada, at a powder manufacturing plant up there, which is now owned by General Dynamics. Then it was moved over into Lovex and Explosia in their line, manufactured in the Czech Republic. And more recently, it has come full circle and come back to the United States here and is being manufactured at St. Mark's Powder Company down in Florida. So very neat to see it brought back into the US here and manufactured inside the United States. Hodgdon also recently acquired Western Powders, which included Ramshot, Blackhorn, and Accurate powder lines. So it's currently owned by Hodgdon, and you can find plenty of reloading data and information on the Hodgdon website. All in all, I think it's a fantastic powder, and I'd like to go ahead and switch over here to the microscope and take a little bit closer look at this powder. Accurate number 2 is a double base spherical propellant, or ball propellant as some people refer to them, and as a result, when you take a closer look at the individual granules here on our little microscope here, the grid squares there are in 1/10 of an inch grid squares, and you can tell that from the size of those individual powder granules, they're round in shape and they're also very, very small. Now, as a result of this powder meters very well. And what I mean by that is when using a volumetric powder dispensers like a Redding BR30 or 10X, or a lot of other companies make them, Lyman, Hornady, they're just volumetric powder measures. This particular powder will flow really well through there, very uniformly and consistent, and it will result in even charge weights when throwing volumetric charges with this powder. So it's a great option for progressive loading as well. Also, if we look at the chemical structure of this powder, being a double base propellant, it does have some nitroglycerin in there. Last I could check, the technical specifications on Accurate number 2 listed it at about 13% nitroglycerin content, and the bulk density is about 0.650 grams per cubic centimeter. So there's your bulk density. And in testing, we've actually come up with our own burn rate chart over the decades of all the different loads and powders and all the different things we've tried. And looking at the burn rate chart here, we can see that it's a little bit slower than the much loved Hodgdon Tight Group, yet it's a little bit faster than Winchester 231. It sits somewhere right between Vihtavuori N320 and Ramshot Zip. This makes it an excellent choice for smaller handgun cartridges, lower pressure applications, and also applications where you have shorter barrel lengths. So on that note, let's go ahead and talk about some of the test guns that we're going to be using here. We're going to shoot some rounds with Accurate number 2 loaded up through these guns. So in order to properly test the Accurate number 2 propellant, we've selected a wide range of cartridges to showcase the versatility of Accurate number 2 powder, and also as a result it's led to some interesting test guns. So real quick we'll walk through those, starting out at this end with the smallest gun here. This is a Browning Black Label 1911 chambered in .380 auto. We actually have done a separate load development video on this particular handgun, and its performance was really good. Both cartridge and handgun, we got some really good results with them, and I'd highly encourage you guys to check that out. Great video overall. This particular handgun here has a 4¼ inch barrel on it, just for reference on the velocity, and I expect good things out of it. The next handgun that we have in the lineup here is a rather interesting one and a personal favorite of mine, just for sentimental reasons. It is a Smith & Wesson Victory model revolver, chambered in none other than .38 Smith & Wesson, also known as the 38-200. .38 caliber 200 grain bullet is what that designates. It's not to be confused with the .38 Special. They are indeed different cartridges. The .38 Smith & Wesson is a little bit shorter and a little less powerful, if you will. The Victory model revolver has a 4-inch barrel, and I'm really excited to kind of showcase a different kind of cartridge on the channel for use in Accurate No. 2. It's a great application for this powder. Next up, we have a Smith & Wesson M&P. This is the original M&P. It's not the 2.0. It's the first one there. And overall, it's a good gun. It's chambered in 40 Smith & Wesson and has a 4.3-inch barrel, 15+1 capacity on that guy. I got it for a really good deal, and Accurate No. 2 has a bit of a reputation as being a good powder in the 40 Smith & Wesson, so I figured we'd go ahead and showcase that. Rolling along to the next handgun, we have an FNX Tactical 45, chambered in 45 auto, of course, and we also have a suppressor threaded onto the barrel there, which the barrel length is 5.3 inches, and it's a Silencer Co. Omega suppressor. Really great suppressor, and 45 ACP is inherently subsonic, so I thought it would be fun to go ahead and suppress it for our testing purposes. It's a double action, single action handgun, a lot of fun to shoot, and in single action, it's got a really nice trigger on it. The final handgun that we're going to showcase for you is this Smith & Wesson Model 25-5. It's built on the famous N frame, but this one is chambered in 45 Colt, which is why it's a Model 25 and not a Model 29. Of course, N frame revolvers, Model 29 got famous from Dirty Harry and the 44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun cartridge in the world. But this one's chambered in 45 Colt. And I really do like this gun. It's had an action job done to it, and it's just a great, great performer. Currently, it's zeroed at 100 yards, so I'll have to remember that when we go to the range. But overall, I'm expecting great things from it. The barrel length on that guy is 6 inches for reference with our velocities. And we'll showcase to you the loads that we test and all that good stuff. But I think without further ado, it's time to go ahead and hit the range. So as you can see, we're out on a range now. It's a beautiful day. We have a steel plate set up 15 yards from the muzzle of our handguns here. And we have an Ehler Model 35P chronograph set up 10 feet from the muzzle to record all of our velocities. And according to the Kestrel 5700 here, the temperature is 63 degrees Fahrenheit, humidity is 30%, and pressure is, when barometric pressure adjusted for elevation, is 30.27 in Hg. So a really nice day on the range here, and we're shooting at steel, so we're not too focused on the accuracy. We didn't do a full load development on any of these handguns. We just kind of selected the charge weight that I thought would be best in the given cartridge, and we'll put it on the steel just kind of as a reference to showcase the versatility of Accurate No. 2 powder. Now we're going to start out with 380 and work our way all the way up to 45 Colt. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So first up for this test, we're going to start out with the tiny but mighty 380 auto using a middle of the road charge with Accurate No. 2 powder at 3.5 grains with a 90 grain Hornady XTP bullet, CCI 500 primers, starline cases, and our overall loaded length is .960 inches. For the test gun, we're using this Browning Black Label 1911, chambered in 380 auto. Let's go ahead and load it up, and we'll put a group on steel. There we go, 5 rounds, pretty quick there. Probably should have taken a little bit more time. Although, again, we're not really horribly concerned with accuracy here. We're just showcasing the versatility of this powder. If you want to squeeze the most accuracy out of your gun, of course, you'd want to do a full load development. And we actually do have a load development video on this Browning Black Label 1911. I would highly encourage you guys to check out that video. It is a really nice handgun, and it performed really well for us. And it'll actually change your opinion on the 380 auto. The cartridge itself is pretty good. So next up in the queue, we've got .38 Smith & Wesson. Really fun, interesting little plinking cartridge that I'm personally a big fan of. So we're using a, once again, middle of the road charge. It's a very narrow window here, but we're using 2.4 grains of accurate number 2 powder with a Lyman 358-311 165 grain cast bullet, lubed with SPG bullet lube. And the bullets are sized to about 0.360 inches, if I recollect correctly off the top of my head. CCI 500 primer, Starline cases, and our overall loaded length is 1.165 inches. And for the test gun, we have this fun little Smith & Wesson Victory model revolver. It's a double action revolver, but I'll shoot it single action, and we'll see what kind of accuracy we can get with this guy. All right. Watch the amount of recoil with this guy. It's just essentially non-existent. There's our 5 rounds. So next up, we've got a 40 Smith & Wesson cartridge here using a 6.0 grain charge of accurate number 2 with 165 grain Federal Hydroshock bullet, Hornady cases, CCI 500 primers, and our overall loaded length is 1.133 inches. Now, accurate number 2 is also a great powder choice for 9mm, but I try and pick different cartridges to showcase, and I don't think we've had a single 40 Smith & Wesson on the channel at this point, up until this point, so I figured we'll try this. The test gun is a Smith & Wesson M&P. It is the original M&P, so the 1.0, I guess, if you will, and chambered in none other than 40 Smith & Wesson. Let's put some rounds on the steel. And there we go, 5 rounds. The next cartridge we have is 45 ACP, 45 Auto. We've got a middle of the road charge here at 5.7 grains of accurate number 2 powder with a 230 grain Hornady full metal jacket bullet, Starline cases, Federal 150 primers, and our overall loaded length is 1.250 inches. And our test gun is the FNX 45 Tactical. Very nice gun, a very popular gun. And we have a Silencer Co. Omega 45K can on the end of here. We'll go ahead and load it up. Put a few rounds on the steel. Well, every now and then without a load development, you get lucky and you find a load that just seems to shoot pretty dang good. Not bad for no load development there. The gun has a really nice trigger. And if you guys would like to see load development videos on any of these guns that we've showcased here, be sure to drop a comment in the video. We appreciate all the feedback, and we want to provide you with videos that you guys want to watch. The final cartridge that we're going to showcase in this video is a much beloved 45 Colt, which actually just turned 150 years old this year. One of my personal favorite cartridges. The load that we're going to be using is accurate number 2 powder, of course, a 7.1 grain charge, which is very close to maximum, with an RCBS 45-255 bullet cast from that mold, sized to .452 inches, and lubed with SPG bullet lubricant. It's 255 grains in weight, Starline cases, Federal 150 primers, and our overall loaded length is 1.670 inches. I'm a big fan of this Keith style bullet. It's always been a performer for me. And a test gun we have here is a Smith & Wesson Model 25-5, chambered in 45 Colt. Most people know this as the Dirty Harry gun, but this one's chambered in 45 Colt, not 44 Magnum. But still a great gun. So let's put a few rounds on the steel. There's our 5 rounds. So we're back at the bench now after a beautiful day of shooting on the range. And obviously we weren't too concerned with the accuracy there. If you want to find an accurate load, the best thing to do is do what we did with this 380 and perform a load development on it and find the most accurate load. What we are more showcasing here is the versatility of accurate number 2 powder. The fact that you can use it from 380 auto all the way up to 45 Colt and everything in between. There's even some limited data out there using accurate number 2 in the 300 blackout with subsonic loads. So it is a pretty versatile powder in spite of it being very fast burning. And we have some load data that we'd like to go ahead and share with you, starting out with the 380 auto. Using accurate number 2, you have a starting charge of 3.3 grains with the 90 grain Hornady XTP bullet. Maximum charge weight is 3.7 grains, and the charge that we settled on for this video is 3.5 grains. So nice middle of the road charge here, which produced a decent extreme spread of 35, a standard deviation of an 18, and out of a 4¼ inch barrel, 1,050 feet per second, which is very close to a max load actually when it comes to velocity using the Starline cases there. So overall, really good results there. Then we went ahead and tried it out in the 38 Smith & Wesson here, using accurate number 2, a 2.4 grain charge. And in the 38 Smith & Wesson cartridge, you have a very narrow window. Your start charge is 2.3 grains, your maximum charge is 2.5, just because it is a small, low-pressure handgun cartridge. We still got really good results, a standard deviation of 12, extreme spread of 33, and an average velocity of 617 feet per second with that Lyman cast bullet, mold number 358311, and that cast 165 grain bullet. So really nice results there with the Victory model revolver and accurate number 2, another ideal application for this powder. Jumping right along, we went ahead and used the Smith & Wesson M&P and 40 Smith & Wesson. Your start charge is going to be 5.6 grains for this load, maximum charge weight of 6.2 grains with the 165 grain Federal HydroShock bullet. Great choice there for self-defense. Hornady cases, CCI 500 primers, and we got good results there, standard deviation of 6, an extreme spread of 17, and this theme is kind of going to continue on. You know, for picking just a random load that I thought would be good in a given cartridge, we got really good standard deviations and really good extreme spreads across the board. So next up, 45 ACP in the FNX Tactical. This is a 5.7 grain charge. Your start charge would be 5.4 grains and maximum charge 6.0 grains. Starline cases, outstanding high quality cases there. And no doubt it helps with the good extreme spreads there. Average velocity of 898 feet per second and an extreme spread of 10, standard deviation of 3 with this load using the 230 grain Hornady full metal jacket bullet. Outstanding load for just picking a random middle of the road charge weight with accurate number 2. And last but not least, we have the Smith & Wesson Model 25-5 here, chambered in .45 Colt. Your start charge is going to be 6.0 grains, and your maximum charge weight is going to be 7.2 grains. Now, just based off experience, I settled on at 7.1 grains, which is very close to a maximum load, for an average of 775 feet per second, and an outstanding extreme spread of 26 and standard deviation of 11. This was with a RCBS 45-255 cast bullet, lubed with SPG lubricant and sized to .452 inches. Overall, outstanding performance, and it really showcases the versatility of Accurate No. 2 powder. In closing, I'd like to leave you with a few final thoughts on Accurate No. 2 powder. Overall, I think it's a phenomenal powder. It has great applications in smaller cartridges, as we aptly demonstrated for you. It's great for progressive loading, and it offers good case fills with these smaller cartridges such as 38 Smith & Wesson, 380 Auto, and things of that nature. And it's low flash. It's not very position sensitive compared to most other powders out there. It's very economical, offering low charge weights for even big cartridges like the 45 Colt, 45 ACP. So you can load very cheaply in bulk if so desired, especially on a progressive reloading press. It lends itself very well for that. Low flash, low recoil, well suited for short barrels. Overall, I think Accurate No. 2 has some great applications in your handgun cartridges. Overall, I'm really pleased with the products from Accurate Powders. I would highly encourage you guys to check out our other videos in this Propellant Profile series. We've covered other powders like Accurate 2230. We have plans to cover Accurate No. 9. We've done Accurate No. 7 in the past. So now I'd like to invite you to check out our other videos. And if this one was interesting, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Let us know that you liked what you saw. And be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss out on any future videos. We have some very exciting things in the works, such as gun giveaways, more propellant profiles, more load developments, all coming your way, and you don't want to miss out. It also is a great way to support the channel. And if you'd like to further support the channel, I'd encourage you guys to check out our website, loaddata.com. We post all of our loads from not only Handloader magazine, dedicated pressure-tested data from our writers. In addition to that, we also post tons of other articles and information on there. It's a great way to support what we're doing here at Wolf Publishing Company and Handloader TV and Handloader magazine. Subscribe to loaddata.com, and it gives you access to the world's biggest online reloading manual. We have data for cartridges that most people haven't even heard of on that website. So please check that out. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave those in the comment sections below. I do my best to read and respond to every one of those. As we grow, it's getting harder and harder to respond to every comment, but I do my best, and we greatly appreciate all the support. And I will catch everybody else in the next episode.